that remains unresolved. Deep in the heart of Cyprus, a huge swathe of its capital is frozen in time. Once glorious in their day, but decades on from its darkest chapter, Nicosia's buildings continue to waste away. I'm spending the day on patrol with the 7 Rifles battle group, made up of personnel from 7 Rifles and 5 Fusiliers, both Army Reserve battalions, as they take part in the UN's longest-running peacekeeping mission, monitoring the buffer zone which has divided the Republic of Cyprus and the Turkish north since 1974.
It becomes history, and that's what makes it really interesting.
Lieutenant Goodwill's day job is in nuclear decommissioning, a far cry from patrolling the streets of a demilitarised zone thousands of miles away from home.
Okay, so the time's now 15:50 and we've just entered the centre area of operations. We're currently standing in front of Annie's house. Now, Annie was a lovely lady that back in the 1974 intervention refused to leave her house. So as a result, the UN agreed that they would escort her from her front door through the buffer zone whenever she needed to leave, but also that they would bring her any kind of food and shopping that she required. And sadly, when she passed away at the age of 90, she was discovered by the Canadian troops who manned this area at the time. And because she turned to quite a mini celebrity, the UN then paid for her funeral. So the one with the CCTV cameras on the top? So the sorts of things we have to look out for, particularly within this area of the buffer zone, are things such as the Turkish forces moving into disputed areas, as this one can be. And if we should come across any kind of what we call a move forward, we would then report that up to the Tactical Operations Centre, who would then inform our liaison officers, who would get in contact with the Turkish forces and ask their troops to leave the area.
The busy streets outside, which take seconds to reach when driving out of the buffer zone by its various gates, are a world away from what lies inside.
So someone has parked and blocked the gate, which is not well to do.
Troops here have to be prepared for anything, and during the patrol there's an unexpected test for Lieutenant Goodwill.
Just do the honours.
A civilian has blocked one of the entrances to the buffer zone, and we can't get back in. There's no sign of the owner, but as they take down the details, Lieutenant Goodwill manages to track him down.
Sorry. Then no problema.
Okay. So if you can move it so we can get access, thank you very much. We've finally just gone and spoken to him, and he's now going to move his vehicle on so we can come back into the gate.
And it is those skills reservists have from the civilian world that the United Nations says is a welcome advantage to this tour.
We're very proud of the work that 7 Rifles is doing here in Cyprus. They play an essential role in helping to maintain our links and our connections with the local communities we serve. We find that the fact that they are reservists has actually helped build links with the local community and build the trust that is required in peacekeeping so that we can continue mission operations. They come from a civilian background and they're able to connect with civilians in a way that perhaps other soldiers may not be so familiar with doing so. So we're grateful for the role that they have played here, and we rely on them to be at the forefront of preventing tensions and helping to maintain calm and stability across the buffer zone.
Every aspect of the lives once lived here remain suspended. These cars were delivered but never driven by the owners who had to leave everything and flee. This is the last passenger plane to land in 1974, when the tourists on board had to be rescued, as Turkish troops landed on the island, prompting a short but bloody war. The once bustling airport is now too dangerous to enter. The only things flying in and out of here now are the birds. It is a vital mission and a moment for these reservists to gain unique experience.
I think it's the first major unit level, almost entirely reservist deployment, operational deployment that there's been since the end of the Territorial Army and the creation of the Army Reserve. 93% reservist, I think that is unprecedented. So it's massive for us and massive for 5th Fusiliers and the other units involved. We're really proud to have been given the opportunity. And indeed, dare I say, to prove that the Army Reserve is good enough to go out under its own steam and deliver this kind of operation and do it really well too.
7 rifles are responsible for maintaining the peace in what's known as Sector 2, which covers 30 kilometres. And in Sector 2, no one day is ever the same. He's just finished his PhD, so life on patrol here couldn't be more different for Lieutenant Wakely. Filming here has to be sensitive. Both sides were informed that filming would be taking place. But at points during the patrol, I was asked to lower my camera to make sure my presence and focus of attention wasn't misconstrued.
Okay, Sean, I'd like to ask you to lower the camera, please. We're coming to a manned Turkish forces over. The entire relationship with the two opposing forces, the Turkish forces and the Greek Cypriot National Guard, is based on trying to develop trust, trying to develop mutual understanding, and trying to do nothing which would be perceived to be covert, or something which would be perceived to demonstrate that we don't trust them. Because fundamentally, working towards a lasting peace settlement, namely the reunification of the island, depends on developing mutual trust, and we are here to develop that mutual trust.
At several points, the patrol spots things they have to report to the UN. Back with Lieutenant Goodwill, he reflects on what's been quite a busy patrol.
So it's been quite a packed patrol today. Had a number of incidents from the opposing forces, but also from the civilians themselves, where most recently they've just blocked our access to the buffer zone in front of a UN sign, quite clearly saying not to park, which for me really highlights the contrast between what we see here within the buffer zone in terms of it being frozen in time from 1974, but the contrast with that and the population outside who are trying to live their lives in the present day. With the violations committed by the opposing forces, I won't dwell on the details of those, simply to say that we report all violations we see impartially and we don't focus on any one side over the other. So whatever we see, we will report it based on our guidance that we're provided by the UN. Now, it is fair to say it possibly has been a bit quiet in the initial part of our tour due to COVID, but now both sides are starting to open up a lot more. We are seeing a lot more activity and a lot more happening, particularly as we roll into the summer. Fully expect to see more things happening and be able to spot more from the buffer zone itself.
The battle group is here for another 3 months before they hand over to 6 rifles who are also an Army Reserve battalion, reflecting the increasing responsibilities reservists are taking on during a time when personnel are eager to learn how the current Defence and Security Review will impact their roles in the months and years to come. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.